Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tea and Tarot with Will and Kate. So I am here. I'm joined by my friend Will from the Atypical Tarot YouTube channel. So welcome, Will. I'm excited to read tarot with you today.
Yes, thanks for having me again. I'm excited too.
Yeah, and if you're
Yeah.
new here, welcome. My name's Kate. I'm also known as the Daily Tarot Girl. I've been reading tarot for many, many years and also teaching tarot for quite a while. And I'm super passionate about reading tarot, and I'm so excited to just hang out with you today and pull a few cards. So, Will and I have done at least a couple of these joint reading events, maybe even three. I can't remember. Can you remember, Will?
I think it has been three. Yeah, I think so. But they've been
Okay.
fun. Yeah, I've loved it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
it's fun to read with someone, I think. So so how it works is if you're here live and you want us to pull a card for you, just let us know in the chat and we can just do a general reading for you, or if you have like something specific you want to ask about, that's fine too. And I think how we did it last time, we each drew one card for each person, right?
yep, I
Yeah.
think so. So we just took turns going first. Yeah, I think that was it. It was pretty simple. We just kind of kept it simple and just picked each card. We would just talk about each card. You would talk about yours, and I would talk about mine, and then just
Yeah.
kind of put that message together at the end.
Yeah.
What decks do you have this
Oh,
time?
okay, so I have two here. I've got the Everyday Witch Tarot, which I thought was kind of, this is a deck I'm really comfortable reading with, and it's also kind of has a little bit of a Halloweeny vibe. I think it's a nice deck for this time of year. And then I also have the Trick or Treat Tarot here as well. So I might also pull some cards from that if I get bored of the Everyday Witch and I just want to switch it up. And I'll show you this deck because it's really fun. This deck was actually sent to me by a student in one of my tarot classes. And what's really cool is she edged the deck. It's bright orange. It kind of looks yellow on camera, but it's actually really bright, kind of neon orange, which is cool. So this is a really neat deck.
Oh,
Very, very Halloweeny. What decks are
I
you
love the
using
colors.
for decks?
So I have the Triomphe de la Luna. So
Oh,
it's got some really interesting creatures on there. So I felt
oh,
like it would be good for this time of year.
nice.
And I also have the Carnival at the End of the World. I feel like everyone in this deck is in a Halloween costume.
Okay.
So I thought that would be kind of interesting to kind of see what comes up. There's some weird looking stuff in there. The Myths and Legends one I have again. Went out of focus there. See if I can.
So,
Oh, there we go. Yeah, there we go. So the Myths and Legends one again, and then I also have the Del Toro Tarot.
oh, cool. Okay, so you've got a lot of decks in your arsenal today. So
Yeah,
it's a full moon today, which is really cool. Do you find that the full moon affects you in any way when it comes to like tarot reading or intuition?
not really. I feel like sometimes I don't really even think about it, but I think I should start paying more attention to it and just see if there's any differences. Because to be honest, I haven't really looked at any differences between my day to day readings when it's a full
Mhm.
moon or not. And actually, usually I do most of my readings during the day, so I'm not even noticing the moon. And I haven't done as many readings at night, like while the moon's out. So that might be something I want to try. So it's interesting. Interesting you bring that up because that would be an interesting thing to do. Is just do a reading in the moonlight at night and just
Mhm.
see how that feels.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So there's lots of people in the chat, so I'm just gonna say hi to everyone and welcome. Hello, Lori. Welcome, Lisa, Teresa, Rose, Melisar, Atlanta, Brooklyn gal, Kylene, Hershey, the Shadow Reader, Judy, Lori. Oh, Lori, I already said hi to you. Lori,
oh,
Crime Brulee. Crime Brulee. That is like such a good name. I love
yeah, I
that.
don't see that one. Okay. Yeah.
So, I thought that we could get started. I'll pick the first one if you don't mind, Will, and then you can pick the next person and we can just kind of go back and forth.
All right, perfect. Sounds good.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna pick. Let's see. There was one that I read, and I thought, "Ooh, this is a fun one to read on." I think it was Alan. So Alin says, I have to go to a social event tonight and I'm an introvert. What suggestions does the tarot have to get me through the evening? All right.
Okay, that is a good one. Are you still able to do that thing where you clicked on the question and it came up on the
Oh,
screen?
yeah. Good. Thanks for reminding me. Yeah. Okay. Show. Okay, there we go. Perfect. Okay. So I'm going to draw a card for you, Alan, from the Everyday Witch Tarot. And the card that you got is Knight of Pentacles. Okay, just trying to think where I can put this card so it's okay. I think that's good. Yep. Right? Okay. All right, so you got the Knight of Pentacles. Now, the Knight of Pentacles, this guy is slow and steady. And I think when you go to this social event, just really kind of pace yourself. I also get the feeling like you're going to be fine. You're well equipped to, even if you're introverted, you're well equipped to handle this social event. This particular Knight of Pentacles has all these tools hanging off his tool belt. He's got a hammer, some kind of pick, all kinds of stuff. And so what I get from this card is that you have all the tools necessary to get through this evening, relatively unscathed without getting too exhausted or too drained. But the Knight of Pentacles is slow and steady. So just kind of pace yourself. You may want to kind of ground your energy before going into this party. The Knight of Pentacles, he likes to feel really stable and grounded, and he doesn't like going into situations that are unpredictable, where there's a lot of different moving parts and surprises and things like that. He hates surprises. He likes things to be really predictable. So I'm just thinking, how can you bring a certain sense of predictability and groundedness in with you as you go to this party? So one thing you could do is, make sure you know how you're getting home, like have a plan. So that's not like up in the air. And I think grounding your energy, doing a little grounding meditation before you get to the party might also be really helpful. And yeah, I think just pace yourself. I think pace yourself when it comes to, I don't know if you're a drinker or a non-drinker, but just kind of pacing yourself when it comes to drinks. Just don't do anything in excess. And I think that you're going to be fine, and you're not going to feel that energy drain that sometimes happens if you're an introvert and you spend all night at a party. What did you get, Will?
Oh, awesome. So I haven't picked it yet. But yeah, good advice. I'm an introvert too. So I like that advice. That's good even for me. I like that. So I got the 7 of Swords. And oops.
I know I have that issue with my camera too.
Okay. There we
Starting to focus. Oh, there we go.
All right. So 7 of Swords. I think that, for this card, I feel like if you're very much in your head, that'll be something that maybe could overwhelm you. Try to do some meditation and relax, ground yourself before going into it to kind of get rid of some of those thoughts and, think of yourself surrounded by positive things, maybe have some positive affirmation, some good things to say to just build yourself up before going into the situation. And to be on the lookout for people that you really resonate, that you kind of feel that you resonate with. I know like a lot of introverts can feel people's energy a little bit. And I know when I go to places, if I find I'm talking to someone and they really make me feel comfortable, I'll try to hold on to that conversation. I'll try to nurture that conversation a little bit and just have someone there that's kind of like a companion that makes me feel more at ease in the situation, because there are certain people that I feel really comfortable with for some reason. And I tend to be able to notice them right away. I'm not sure exactly why, but they just sort of stand out. It's almost like I immediately gravitate towards a certain person or group, and they're almost always there. They're almost always someone at a gathering or in a party, if I'm paying close attention to, that even if we're not talking, I just feel better even being near them. The thing about me is when it's in a social situation, if I don't have that, that's when I usually feel really like I want to leave, because I'm kind of just standing there and I feel like everyone's just like, what is this person doing? They're just like, they seem so awkward. But if I have someone that I'm at least sort of vibing with, or at least hanging around, it's a little bit better. So look for that. I feel like if you look for that and just kind of clear your mind before going into it, and some of those maybe thoughts of fear, try to work with it a little bit. I know as introverts, we're always a little bit hesitant, a little bit fearful, but maybe work with it a little bit, because those thoughts can restrict your perception of being open to who's actually there, that you can relate to a little bit more. So that's kind of what I felt like that card took me to. Swords are about the mind, and I felt like that took me there.
And I think, like, as I was listening to you talk about that experience of being at a party and just feeling like an idiot kind of standing there, I just want to say that I think that Halloween parties especially can be a little bit awkward if
Mm.
everyone's like dressed up in weird costumes. I just remember going to this one party where I didn't know, I only knew like a couple of people at the party, the person who was hosting and then one other person. I didn't know anyone else, and it was a costume party. And I thought, oh, I'm going to go as like a naughty nurse. And I had this like really cool, like legit nurse's uniform from the 1960s that I got
Mm.
at this thrift store. And it was really cool. And so I made it really kind of skanky. I'm like, yeah, it's going to be
Oh
fun.
no.
Yeah, I know. And then I get to the party and like no one was wearing skanky costumes. Everyone was
Oh,
dressed as like pumpkins and like like
oh
super
my
frumpy
goodness.
costumes. And so I was so out of place. And I don't think anyone at the party appreciated my skanky outfit. And so yeah, so parties on their own are awkward, but they're really awkward when you go dressed as a skanky nurse and no one finds it funny. And everyone's like looking at you
That's
and
a
it's like a crowd that you haven't met. Really awkward.
that's a good point. If you can do a little bit of research on who's going to be there, that kind of know your audience a little bit, that might help too.
Yeah.
Because you're just going in blind. You never know. People could like have some sort of, especially if it's a group of people that know each other and you don't really know anyone in that group.
Mhm.
They could have these, I don't know, like traditions or things that you're not familiar with, that someone brings something or everybody does a certain thing, and then that makes it awkward. Yeah. I got
Yeah.
invited to a gathering one time, and everyone was bringing a gift, and I didn't know. The
Oh
person that
no.
invited me didn't, and I was the only one that didn't bring anything, and I felt terrible. Yeah,
So when you like go out to your car, you're like, what do I have in my car that I could like wrap
I
up as a
know,
gift?
I know, and everyone's taking their turn, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, hopefully they'll stop before they get to me and like do something else so I can get out of here. Because I didn't want them to look at me and say, so what did you bring? And that didn't
Yeah,
happen. I forgot what happened, but luckily it didn't get to that point.
good, good. Okay, so who are you gonna choose? Who's gonna be
Okay.
the lucky recipient?
All right. Let's see. All right. So it looks like one of the first one was at 101. Goddess Glow Up. Hello, I'd like a general reading, please. My name is Dee Dee Harris. So it's like at 1101. Maybe you could
Oh,
click
I
on that
see it.
one.
Okay,
Mhm.
got it. There we go. Okay.
All right. So just a general reading. We'll see what happens here. All right. So we got the Temperance card. And Let me let this focus again. Oh, there we go. All right. So the Temperance card, to me, I feel like it puts me in the mindset of things being sort of on autopilot, or things being like a system because of the way the cups are flowing from one cup to another. So it's like having organization and systems in place before you do things. And I feel like I'm just being prompted to say that organization, having things planned out, is something that we can all look at and that we can all benefit from, and that'll help you in the months to come for anything that might come up. Just having something in place for your schedule, like meetings coming up, different events, different I don't know, bills that are coming up, kind of organizing all of that and getting those things in order for this year. Starting now might be a good idea. Next year, I mean, we'll be in December soon, and then we'll be starting a new year. But starting that now, maybe thinking about, okay, what planner am I going to get for the new year? Because that's usually when people buy a lot of planners and start preparing for that. I feel like Temperance is about preparing, about being ready, about tempering yourself for new things that may be unexpected, or things that might benefit from you just having something in place to navigate your way through it. And it won't impact you on a level where you're trying to rush around and do things haphazardly when they come about. So I don't know. I just felt the need to say that based on what it's just a general reading, but just generally, I think that anyone could benefit from that. But I think specifically because I pulled this card for you, that's something that you can think about.
Okay. I like what you said about Temperance, Will. And I got 8 of Cups for
Ah,
DD, which I think, and I realized like 8 of Cups and Temperance, they're different cards, but I feel like they have some similarities, and I feel like they kind of go together well in a way. So with the 8 of Cups, I feel like Eight of Cups is telling me that it's like you're ready for the next step, Dee Dee. You're ready for something more. And it feels like you're ready to feel like emotionally invested in something. It's like you're looking for something, but the thing that you're looking for is more emotionally based. Like you're looking for, it's like you want to feel a certain way. You want that sense of emotional fulfillment in whatever it is that you're looking to do. And I think that in the past you may have achieved certain things, and achieved certain goals, certain dreams, and then you're like, this doesn't feel as juicy and as good as I thought it would. And it's because that emotional component might be missing. So it feels like you've learned a lot from past, I don't want to say mistakes because they're not mistakes, but you've learned a lot from the past, and you're kind of ready for this new phase, and you're ready to let go of certain things, even if there's certain things that you maybe have put a lot of time and attention and care on in the past. You're ready to walk away from some of those things and go off in search of that thing that just makes your heart sing. Yeah, so that's what I get with the 8 of Cups. Do you have anything to add to that, Will?
no, I think that's really good. I feel like she got really two readings in one there. So I think both of those things are great. I think, yeah, definitely. That sounds exciting though, to be,
Yeah. Yeah.
she's
Thanks
ready
for
for
having
something
us
new.
read for
And
you, Dee
yeah,
Dee.
all right.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to choose. There's so many comments. This is really exciting. Lots of
Yeah,
comments, lots of questions. Since that was a general one, I'm going to look for something that's more specific for this one. And there was one that I saw, and I was like, ooh.
there was one
Um,
about someone's laid off and wanted to
yeah,
find
there's
out.
one that was up at the top, I think, but there was one about love life that I kind of
Oh,
wanted
okay.
to tackle. It's funny, I don't normally I don't normally go for the love life ones, but this one kind of, oh, actually here, I want to do this one. Kathleen says, can I please get a general reading if I'm on the right path? Okay, so I guess this is general. It's not specific, but I like the question. So I'm going to switch over to my Halloween deck. And I don't know, Will, do you want to draw the first card or do you want me to draw the first card?
Let's see who did it last time. I think I went first last time. You can go ahead.
Okay. So for you, Kathleen, are you on the right path? Let's ask the Trick or Treat Tarot. Okay, so we got 10 of Cups. All right. Huh. And what's really cool is it shows, I believe this is,
Wizard of Oz?
yeah, the Wizard of Oz, which is all about that song about the yellow brick road. So immediately that's kind of interesting that you asked about your path, and this is a card, you know, about the yellow brick road. Now there isn't a path on this particular card, but I'm going to say yes. So I think of, you know, when you ask a yes no question, like, am I on the right path? And you get something like the 10 of Cups. I see the 10 of Cups as really being a yes card. Now, I'll elaborate on that a little bit. So I see 10 of Cups as being, I'm just distracted by all the flying monkeys at the top of the card. That's really weird. Or
Oh my
flying,
gosh.
it's been a long time since I've seen the Wizard of Oz. The flying monkeys, do you remember what they are?
I think they were from the witch, right?
Yeah.
They were like
They were like to
her
distract people, kind of.
helpers. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And they're all hanging up in the tree, so they can't bother anyone. Um, so I feel like 10 of Cups to me is a card of like dreams coming true, but very much in like a sentimental, emotional sense. So there is this feeling of, I want to say, camaraderie and this feeling of like helping others and being helped, and just this almost like a sense of community and warm, fuzzy feelings all around. This is a very heart-centered type of card, I think. And so your question was, am I on the right path? And I feel like this card is saying yes, but it's also reminding you to prioritize things like, trying to think how to put this into words. It's telling you to stay in your heart. When you're in your heart and you make decisions from that place of being heart-centered. So not making decisions from a place of fear or panic, but really being in your heart and connecting to your heart and making your decisions from that place as you move forward. It's hard to veer off your, you know, the right path. That really puts you on a good path.
Oh, cool. All right. So I got the 5 of Pentacles here. And I like the way she phrased the question, because she said that the question says, if I'm on the right path. So it means that you've taken the initiative and taken your power to choose that path for yourself. Like, you didn't ask the tarot, what path should I be on? You just asked, am I on the right one? And you're just trying to get confirmation. And I think this card really reflects that, because if you don't do that, then you're not in control. And you see how this person's being controlled by this.
Can you like bring the card closer? I want to see it, like the details of it. Even like closer.
It might start to blur. Yeah, like maybe that's
okay. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on that card. It looks really interesting.
It's let me see if I can explain it. All right, so it's a guy that's on a pathway. He's struggling a bit. He's got these 2 sticks that are helping him. Kind of.
It was focused for a second, and then
I know, it's just like going in and out of focus. I gotta fix that next time.
What if you put it like right next to your head?
I can put it like back here, and then come forward a little bit, but then it's kind of.
It's still blurry. There
I
we
think
go.
that's the best yeah, that's probably the best I can
Okay,
do.
I can see it now.
All right. So yeah, so there's a guy that's struggling on this pathway. He's got these two sticks that he's using to hold himself up. But then there's a cat or something on his back that's really controlling him. And the reason why I brought up the fact that you took the initiative and took your power to say, hey, am I on the right path, and not asking what path should I be on, that's a good question, because it means that you are, as long as you're choosing from your heart, like Kate said, then that's coming from a good place. That's coming from a place that you really resonate with, and you can't go wrong if you go inward and find that true will and find that true direction and path. And I think that by doing that, yes, you definitely are. And I think Tarot is confirming that by saying, hey, I'm glad you didn't ask me, what path, because I don't want to take control of this. I want you to find that for yourself. And so, yeah, I definitely agree with what Kate said about that. And so it kind of confirms the 10 of was it 10 of cups?
Yeah.
That, yeah, kind of confirms that, like, yeah, absolutely. It's coming from your heart, and that's what you should be doing. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, thanks, Kathleen, for letting us read for you.
Yeah. All right, let me see. I'll pick the next one. I saw one that I thought was really good. It was okay. It's by Kylene Peterson. It says, I'd love a reading regarding my work situation and
Oh
the
yeah,
new budding.
she was up by the top, I think.
Yeah, 105.
God, oh wait, 105. Okay, I'm way off here. Okay, there we go.
All right, there we go. So I'd like a reading regarding my work situation and a new budding relationship I started with my coworker. So let's see. All right, I'm gonna do another card from Carnival at the End of the World. So she's in a new work situation and she started a relationship with the coworker. All right.
Okay.
All right. So we got the Four of Pentacles. All right. So I feel like with this card, there is this tendency to be protective, this tendency to worry about the things that we have in our possession and kind of have an anxiety about that. And I think that sometimes we do need to be a little bit protective. I think sometimes when it comes to certain situations, I can kind of understand that the being hesitant to take risk and to make sacrifices for our, based on our security and where we're at, because it's not always about us. If we have family that we have to worry about or kids that we're taking care of, maybe getting into a relationship with a coworker is a bit risky. It's kind of like, if something goes wrong, then you're in a situation where it's like, oh, I got to see this person every day. It's a risk is basically what I'm saying. If you feel like the risk is worth it, then go for it. By all means, I wouldn't tell anybody not to do anything. But I think Tarot is just saying, to also think about the potential for this situation, because relationships they're tricky, and this is a new job. And I think that having being in a new work situation, and I don't know if this coworker's already been there and established relationships with other workers. If something goes wrong, then they could, you never know, they could bad talk you, or there's a lot of potential things that could go wrong with something like that. But I mean, I'm not discouraging it, but because I got the Four of Pentacles, I just felt the need to say there's this protective side to all of us that protects our well-being and our safety, and kind of makes decisions that are, sometimes we want to make decisions that are good decisions, that are based on, well thought out things that could happen. And relationships are emotional, and I know we get that emotional high, that feeling of, wow, this is great, but take it slow and just really feel things out. And I'm not sure where you guys are as far as the relationship is concerned, how much, how long it's been, or, what the status of it is. But if it's just starting, I would say just really, really slow, really feel out the person, find out if it's really something you want to get involved with. Yep. So that's what I feel.
Okay. So Will, while you were talking, I drew a card from the Trick or Treat Tarot, and I got the Sun. And I thought, oh, this is so weird that this is such a different card than what Will got. Like the Sun, Four of Pentacles, those are like two very different cards.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, that's kind of weird. So I thought, I'm going to draw a card from my Everyday Witch Tarot and see what comes up. So then I drew another card and I got Death. And so I'm like, okay, the Sun and Death couldn't be any more different. And I'll show you them together. But then what I thought was interesting is that with Death, we have the Death figure who's about to cut a cord. It's this fraying cord, and it looks like he's about to just like slice through it and cut the cord. And then the girl in the Sun is about to blow out these candles. So she's about to extinguish this flame. And so to me, the flame is like the passion, right, of the relationship, the excitement. And she's just like blowing those flames out. So, so these two cards together seem to be, and also I will say the Death card, in the background, there's the two doorways, and one doorway is firmly closed and the other doorway is beckoning. It's glowing with light and it's just ajar and it's just kind of begging you to walk through it. And so what I wonder as I'm like looking at these two cards and as I'm thinking about what you were saying, Will, with the Four of Pentacles, it feels like it might feel like this new work situation and the new relationship feels really exciting right now, but I feel like there's something else out there for you relationship wise, perhaps. I'm just really struck by the fact that these are two totally opposite cards. Really, like I really couldn't think of any two cards that are more opposite than Death and the Sun. And yet both of the figures, like she's blowing out the candles and he's about to cut this cord. I think it's kind of interesting. And both have cats in them, which is kind of funny. So Death has the cat is at the bottom of the card, kind of playing with something, distracted, totally distracted, playing with something. And that's interesting to me. I wonder what role this new relationship has for you. Is it a distraction? Is it more than that, perhaps? And then we have the cat here who's just kind of peeking at what's happening, just kind of looking at the cake with the three candles in it. Yeah, do you have anything you want to add to that, Will?
No, that is interesting though, that they're both doing things that are extinguishing something or ending something.
Yeah.
And I think it's good sometimes to take a step back because we can be emotional. We can have fiery emotions that are, at the beginning of a relationship. And then maybe we're not seeing clearly what path to take. And maybe there's other options there that might work out a little bit better for this situation. So that's interesting.
And I also wonder, something else I want to mention is with Death, I feel like this card represents a transition phase. So there's the door in the background that's closed and then the door that's just open ajar. And just think about for a moment, if you just came out of the room, this room, and you closed the door and you haven't gone through this new door yet, you're meandering in the hallway that's all misty. It's mysterious. This cat's getting distracted. It's like when you're going from one place to another place, sometimes there's a little pit stop that is maybe confusing and you're sort of trying to navigate that before you get into the next stage and the next thing. And then with the Sun, she's blowing out candles on a cake. It's like this is her birthday, right? Maybe this is like a birthday. So that one year is ending, a new year is beginning. Anyway, food for thought.
Cool. I was thinking maybe we can like divide up, like for the questions, I can look at the older ones and then you can focus on the newer ones. That way we can get both of those, because I don't want to miss the older questions because they got here first. And I kind of feel like, oh, okay, just because the newer ones are popping up. So maybe I could go through like the ones further back, and then we can just go back and forth between newer and older cards.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
So you want to pick from the top. I'll kind of go from the
Yeah.
bottom.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
And I think, is it your turn? Wait, I picked that one.
Yeah.
Yep. Mhm.
Yeah, I think it is. Okay. Oh, I want to do a reading for Patty. Okay. So Patty asks, I have a big birthday next year. What should my theme or goal for the year be? Okay. I'm going to shuffle my Everyday Witch Tarot. And I'm just going to ask, what's the theme? What should the goal be for this big birthday coming up? Okay. 8 of Swords. All right. So 8 of Swords looks like a bad card. It's one of those cards you look at and you're like, oh God, she's blindfolded, her hands are tied, she's surrounded by swords. It's very bleak. And yet the 8 of Swords is actually a card of power. It's about recognizing your own power. And sometimes that takes a little while. Sometimes that's a process. And so the woman on the 8 of Swords, when you look at her, you realize she's not actually stuck there. She could lift that blindfold. Nothing's preventing her from doing that. Her hands, I mean, they're not, I think she can probably get out of that. And those swords aren't really keeping her there. What's keeping her there is the belief that she's stuck. And so whenever the 8 of Swords comes up in a reading, it is kind of an invitation to question your own beliefs that you might have about your own limitations or stuckness. And I think sometimes the way we see ourselves isn't always reality. So sometimes we're more powerful than we realize. And so with the 8 of Swords, I feel like a big theme for this year for you is about starting to recognize your own power, starting to set yourself free. The woman in the 8 of Swords she's about to set herself free, but she hasn't figured out how to do it yet. And she probably won't figure it out all at once. It might be a multi-stage process. First she might lift the blindfold, and then she's going to look around. She's going to be like, oh, I'm not really stuck. And then she's going to get up. She's going to untie her hands. She's going to walk away. But she might not be able to do it in like 1 minute. It might take her a little longer. But I see you this year starting to unravel some of those limiting beliefs that you might have had about yourself that you don't even necessarily realize is a belief. You just might think that's how it is. That's just reality. And so I feel like this is kind of about starting to peel away all those various layers of, I don't want to say delusion, but it's like inaccurate perceptions is what I mean. And so this is actually an exciting card to get, I think. And what's cool is her broomstick and her hat lay outside of the swords. And so once she figures out how to get out of that circle of swords, she has her tools of power, her broomstick and her hat. Yeah, so I think it's an exciting year ahead for you, Patty.
Cool. And I think this card that I have, I got the 7 of Swords again.
Oh,
I think I think it relates to that one, because I wanted to say when you had those cards out that it's a good idea not to, once you get out of those swords, to not take any of those swords with you. Because if you look at this person holding all those swords, they're holding them by the blades, and that looks uncomfortable. And they're looking back also at maybe some swords that were left, some regrets or things in the past that they can just leave there. They don't need to look back on, because it's just going to make them feel down or not really ready to start the next year, because they are dwelling on some things that they could let go of. And if you look at the person's face, I don't know if you can see it in this, maybe it's too far, but if you look at the person's face, they're not very happy looking at all of that. And I think if this person would just let go of those things and walk away, they would be a lot better off, because it's just weighing them down. One, it's they're probably, causing cuts and just more things that they can take with them that's harmful and not really serving them at the time. So yeah, I feel like that goes along with that. Like the eight of swords is getting out of that situation, realizing your power and moving on. But the seven of swords to me seems like it's saying, okay, once you're walking away from those swords, you don't need to take them with you. Just leave whatever was keeping you in that situation behind.
Do you realize, well, there's 68 people watching right now. That's a record. That's a
Oh my
lot of
goodness.
people.
Yeah,
Oh, someone
that
just
is.
left. 67 now. They heard me say that. They're like, I'm out of here.
They don't need, yeah,
That's
they're
a
like,
lot
oh,
of
we're good.
people. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I believe it is your turn to pick
Okay.
someone.
Let's see. So many. See. All right, so here's one from Steve at 11:08. Any chance of a quick reading on my traveling around the world? What do I need to look out for? Well, that sounded exciting, so I'm like, okay, I'm all about traveling. So
Yeah.
let's see. See what we get. So I'm using myths and legends. That was what I used for the last card. And we got the Queen of Cups. And it has the Loch Ness Monster on there. If that will focus. There we go. So I think with the Queen of Cups, you have balanced emotions. You have someone that's well grounded, able to handle different situations. They're prepared. They're able to relax in certain situations. They're also able to take care of others. So if others are going with you on the trip, I think that you're the one that should be grounded. You're the one that should be able to manage all of the things that come with traveling around the world. Traveling, it sounds great and it is great, but there are things that come up. There's always the hectic part of the trip where you're trying to catch planes or trying to get to certain places and maybe you don't know your way around, but maintaining that cool emotional state is going to make the trip more memorable and just make this experience a lot more fun. So it may be tempting to get stressed out in certain situations, but if you can just relax, take things a step at a time, get help when there's people around to ask questions, and just know that there's no need to worry about any of the situations that may come up, because taking a trip around the world, it sounds like you're going to be doing a lot. There's bound to be some bumps along the road, but you'll be able to get through those things if you are calm, enjoying the moment. Even if you're in a situation where it seems like things are not going right, find the things that are just interesting to look at. Just find something in that situation, because you're in a totally different part of the world and you can miss out on little details if you're running yourself ragged about, little things that are popping up here and there along the way. Of course, you'll have to handle these things. And I think that, that's a part of it. I think, you have the Loch Ness Monster in this gigantic lake, but the Loch Ness Monster is bigger than that. It's able to, it's almost bigger than the lake, right? So I think that you're able to handle it. You'll be fine. And so as long as you don't panic, you'll be fine.
Oh, and I just realized I forgot. I was totally asleep at the wheel here. I didn't put Steve's question up on our screen. So hold on. I'm gonna do that right now. I'm sorry, Steve. I forgot to do that.
So it's 11:08.
Oh, 108. Okay.
Oh, sorry. 108. I'm 11:08.
Okay, I see it now. All right. Okay, so the card I got for you, Steve, is the Star from the Trick or Treat Tarot. And what I love about the Star is all about letting go and just kind of going with the flow and not trying to micromanage every little thing. And I think when you're traveling, like, sure, you've probably pre-booked a few things, I'm guessing, and that's fine, but definitely leave room to, have some days that aren't totally planned. Like, have some unplanned days where you can just kind of go with the flow and kind of wander around and see where life takes you. I love how this star is dancing. She's in the street under a street lamp, and it looks like in the background there's all these people rushing to get into this house, this building, and she is in the middle of the street under the street light, and she's put down her magic wand and her bag, and she's just dancing. And I get this feeling like this is about being in the present moment and just being willing to enjoy whatever life is offering you in the present moment. And I think that can be so important when you're traveling and you're going to new places that you're not familiar with, just experiencing those places. And I know whenever I've gone on trips and I've traveled, I try to kind of mix it up so that every day isn't like rigidly structured, and that there's a lot of days where I'll just do something low key, like just go to a park for a couple of hours and people watch, or just sit in a cafe for a little bit. And so I'm not always like sightseeing and like planning all these events and stuff. So that's what I get with the star. It's about kind of letting go and letting life kind of take you on a trip, on a journey.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I
Okay.
agree. Having those days where you can just be immersed in the atmosphere and not really doing something like standing in a line or, trying to, I don't know, because some places you can go can be really touristy and then you end up waiting around in the sun, like, oh man, like tired. And then you're like, you need a rest. You need a day where you're just like, okay, we're not doing anything today. So those are good.
We have some really nice comments here. Mia says, "Ooh, I love these two." And Sophie says, "Love you guys." Thanks, everyone.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna choose. Let's see. Hmm, uh, okay. I want to do one for Rachel. Rachel says, "I'd love a general reading if you have time. Whatever message comes up, as I'm not sure how to ask a question right now." Okay, so I'm going to do a card. I'm liking this trick or treat tarot for this event here, so I'm going to shuffle this deck. And Rachel just wants a general reading. All right, so Rachel, you got 5 of Wands. Okay. So it looks like there's a piñata, which is a really creepy spider, and all these little ghoulishy creatures are smacking this piñata, and looks like there's candy and things. Okay. Okay, so 5 of Wands. 5 of Wands is often a card of competition and sometimes even conflict. So sometimes if you're in a situation where everyone has an idea of how things should be, everyone's passionate about their own little thing, and you all come together to try to make something happen, and it's just a gong show because everyone wants different things, no one's hearing one another, and it can be this kind of source of conflict and competition. But there's also kind of a feeling of fun with this card as well. And a lot of people find competition fun. And there's something exciting and playful and invigorating about putting yourself in some kind of a competitive situation because it's a game, essentially. So what's the message? This is just such a weird card with so much going on.
Yeah.
I think if you find yourself, well, first of all, a question for you. Think about the areas of your life that feel perhaps somewhat competitive. Um, is there a way to be a little bit more playful with that competitive edge? Is there a way to have more fun? Is there a way to use that energy of competition and competing with others as a way to not drain your energy or stress you out, but as a way to actually kind of give you energy, to kind of have fun with it? That's one thing I get with the Five of Wands. Another thing I get is if you're in a situation, whether it's at work or with family or friends, where it feels like everyone's on a different page, and you're struggling to like collaborate or work together, focusing on a common goal or a thing that you're all passionate about or a common value is one way to bring people together so that you sort of smooth out some of the friction and some of the tension. So asking the question, well, what are we all wanting? What common value do we all share? Yeah, so that's
Oh,
what I'm getting with the Five of Wands.
cool. I feel like you talked about the card that I had. I have the Lover's card.
Oh,
And I
okay.
feel like how you were talking about coming together, looking at our differences and finding, growing from that and the playful nature of it, but bringing together those polarities. I think we grow from that. We can create from that. There's something about that I think enhances both sides of this sort of conflict or situation when we can find that middle ground and make that work. Balance is important. So I think that when you're in those types of situations, there's always that opportunity to come to agreements, to come to common themes, and just to make the situation something that's more productive and that you can get something out of, right? And so the Lover's card to me is like what Kate was saying about um finding those opposites or things and bringing them together. So I think that it relates to that. And so I didn't know really where to go with this card until she started talking about that, because I wasn't feeling that this was about any romantic situation in your life, but more about just looking at the things in your life that maybe they seem like they don't fit, they seem like they don't work, but there's a way to find balance and incorporate them and make something beautiful from that. Because of course this is the Lover's card. So something definitely amazing can come from that. There's this creative energy to the Lover's card that I think sometimes we overlook because we're afraid to look at those aspects of ourselves that we just don't want to look at for whatever reason we're afraid to, or they just are in conflict or in contrast to what we want. Mm-hmm.
And look at your card. It looks like there's like a beam of light shining down from the top, just like on this
Oh,
card.
you're right. You're right. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's really interesting.
Um, I think that, yeah, I'm not sure what that could mean. I think it just really connects the two cards. But anytime I think of like a beam of light coming down, I think of like divine inspiration or connecting to our spiritual side. There's always spiritual growth as well as just growth in the physical world from the things that we learn in our relationships and from just having contact with people in general. It's one of the ways we learn about ourselves, about other people, and we just get better with experience. It just builds wisdom. Yeah.
Rachel says, the loved one on a different page and struggling to collaborate resonates, and the lovers also clicks, she says. All right.
Awesome. All right. So, all right, so I'm just going in order here. So the one after Steve was
Oh, you don't have to
Teresa.
go in. Well, okay, you can do whatever you want.
Oh
You don't have to go in
yeah.
order, but
I just feel bad skipping people.
oh,
Let me
well,
see.
Will,
I
there's
know there's
so
so many,
many
huh?
people here. We're not gonna get to everyone.
All right, let's see. All right, so we have one. Yeah. Okay. So I think it's Swaro Tarot
Yes, I saw her
113.
comment too. Um, so what timestamp is it?
113.
Okay. Something about love life, I think.
Right.
I think that was the one I actually saw before, and then I couldn't
There
find
you
it
go.
again. Okay.
All right. So
Hey
hey
guys,
guys, can I?
can I
Go ahead.
Hey guys, can I have some advice on how to deal with difficult situations in my romantic relationship?
All right. So I'm gonna pick from the Del Toro Tarot again. I wish I would have had a deck here that was more, because I tried to pick spooky decks for Halloween, so I'm like, but the romance ones, I'm not sure how it'll work out. We'll see. Make it work. Okay. So I got the Six of Cups. And I think giving is definitely something that we can all focus on. Like in relationships, I think there's those sacrifices that we make when we give up our emotions, but in a way that maybe we don't, like, in a way that kind of goes against the things that we want to say initially. Like, for example, if something happens and we want to maybe confront the person, it's really hard to just say, okay, I'm going to let them have the last word. I'm going to let them, feel like they're right now, because you'll be able to avoid all those conflicts, which maybe later on you might look back and say, you know what, that was something small and I'm glad I let that go. And usually there's someone in the relationship that will allow that to happen. And I think that's a really important thing to think about daily when you're in a relationship, because sometimes, if you're in a relationship with someone, they're with you. They should be on your side. So if you are constantly in conflict in relationships, there's no need for it. You can just let so many things go and just say, okay, all the emotions that I'm feeling, I'm going to go ahead and express those in some other way, but I don't have to have control over like the final thoughts, the final say about everything. Of course, they're not with everything. There are some big things in relationships that need to be said, but there are a lot of small things that people can argue over that can just be, one person can just say, okay, you know what, this isn't worth it. But I think that as far as relationships go, I've seen, and I say that because I've just seen that, people bickering about something where it's like, I don't know if that's even really, they could just be having fun right now. So yeah, that's kind of what I felt with the Six of Cups there. Yeah.
Okay. So you got Six of Cups, I got Queen of Swords. And as soon as I turn this card over, this is from the Everyday Witch Tarot. As soon as I turn this card over, it's like, oh, I know what this card's trying to say. So the Queen of Swords is all about communication. And that's one of her superpowers. She is very good at communication, but she's specifically really good at communicating in a very clear, concise, direct way. So she is really advocating for you to communicate things clearly to your partner. And she's holding a feather pen. So this doesn't have to be sitting down and having a face-to-face talk, although that is something she's really good at as well. But you could maybe put your feelings into writing. And sometimes if you write your partner a letter and just allow yourself to do the first draft uncensored, where you get everything off your chest, everything that's bothering you, get it all out on the page. And you aren't necessarily going to give them that letter. That's just for you to get everything out. There's something very cathartic, and that helps you organize your thoughts and feelings and process them a little bit before then going to your partner to talk about something. So you could start with writing things down. And then if you want, you can do another draft of a letter that you could actually give your partner, because sometimes if you're having to have a difficult conversation about something, sometimes talking face to face isn't always the best thing. Sometimes writing a letter where you can be cool and calm and collected and get your feelings down, sometimes that is preferable. Or you could do a hybrid of both of these things if you're having to have a difficult conversation. So you could write it all out, and then you could sit down and you could, I mean, this sounds a little weird, like reading off a piece of paper, but sometimes it's good to have that piece of paper there, because the face-to-face conversations can get really, they can get quite emotional, and then you will get overwhelmed maybe by feeling, and it's hard to kind of express yourself eloquently when that happens. So that's my advice for you with the Queen of Swords, is she's all about communication, whether it's written communication, spoken word, but she's very direct in the way that she communicates. She doesn't beat around the bush. She's really direct. And sometimes people don't like that communication style because they find it really harsh and they find it a little bit brutal. She can be really brutal. She can just be like brutally honest and direct. But sometimes that's needed. Sometimes the time for beating around the bush and pussyfooting around, it has passed, and you just need to be upfront, and you need to be clear and concise and honest about how you're feeling and what's going on. So I hope that resonates. I hope that you find that helpful. And thanks for your question, Swaro.
Awesome. Yeah, I definitely think there's a time for everything. And
Yeah.
time to journal, a time to reflect, and then maybe communicate. And yeah, balancing all that out. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so we're at the hour mark. So Will, I just want to check in with you. Are you okay to take a couple more questions? Do you want to wrap up soon? How are you doing for time and energy?
Yeah, I'm okay to take a couple more.
Okay, great. Okay. So I'm going to pick one here. Oh, interesting. So Swirl says she also pulled the Queen of Swords today. Oh,
Oh, cool.
beautiful. And she loves writing and she writes every day. Oh, good. That makes sense. Okay. Huh. I want to do a reading for Sophie. Okay, so Sophie says, I just pulled out of a business deal as it isn't making sense to me. How might I gain more clarity, as I feel quite stuck and as though it's taking ages to find solutions? All right. So I'm going to shuffle my Everyday Witch Tarot here and see how you can get unstuck here. Okay, so we have Ace of Wands. Okay, this is a great card to get if you're wanting to get unstuck, because aces are all about new beginnings, fresh energy, a fresh start. So you definitely are on the cusp of that new beginning, that fresh start. You just haven't gone over into fresh beginning territory yet. You're still figuring that out. So what I get with the Ace of Wands, I really feel like this is a card of manifestation. And in some ways, this card really reminds me of the Magician. So we have a woman, she's standing by the fire, her palms are open. So there is like this open stance that she has. And then hovering in the smoke of the fire, we've got looks like a map, a feather pen, a notebook, some music, a paintbrush, paints, all kinds of stuff there. So how can you get unstuck? I feel like tapping into your creative side and tapping into, I feel like you have a lot of things that you're passionate about, a lot of things that inspire you. So what kinds of activities or things inspire you? What helps you get into that kind of creative mindset? And I just want you to forget about the business stuff and all of that. Just put that to the side for a second and engage your creative side. So, maybe spend an hour or two just sketching if you like sketching, or get your paints out, or go to the park and do some creative writing. Or if you're musical, kind of just allowing yourself to just kind of play and be creative. And there's something in that process of being creative and creating something and just having fun. There's something there that's going to shift your energy and almost shift your brain a little bit, because right now you're looking for solutions, you're trying to get unstuck, you're trying to get clear on things. And the more you try to do that, the more stuck and the more unclear you're going to feel. So just forget about that. Don't try to do that. Instead, focus your attention on doing something creative. Give yourself an afternoon or a day or an hour or whatever whatever time you have, and just allow yourself to be kind of playful. And I think that that is going to kind of shift something in your brain that's going to help you. It's kind of like, I remember when I was a kid being told that if you're writing a test and you get to a question that you aren't sure how to do, or you're not sure what the answer is, just leave it, move on to the next question, and then come back to that question that you had a hard time with later at the end of the test. And sometimes your brain was busy figuring things out in the background while you were doing the other questions, and now you know the answer to that question. I feel like this is kind of what I'm trying to say. And then another thing with the Ace of Wands is, what is it that what inspires you? And what is it that you're trying to manifest? What are you trying to create? Those are just a couple of questions to kind of ponder.
Cool. Yeah, I agree. I got the death card.
Mm-hmm.
And also, as you were talking about letting that stuff go, not really thinking about all of these things, that this card made more sense as far as connecting to that card. And so, yeah, I agree. Maybe finding another way to look at this situation and moving away from like all the mental energy being so much in the mind. That's probably gonna make you feel a lot better, because this person right here on this card has been bit or whatever. This is the zombie tarot, and this person's been bit. They're trying to figure out the solutions. They have all these ideas written down as to what's happening with people, what causes the disease, and all of this. They're trying to analyze it and figure it all out, and try to understand all of that. But with zombies, it's a big mystery, and I think by taking a step back and maybe just looking at another way. The last questions that you asked her, what were the last two questions that you asked? Do you remember?
Oh, yeah. What inspires you and what are you trying to manifest or create?
Yeah. And so just to add to that, I would say sometimes our inspiration, maybe it's not really a matter of you trying to think and analyze those questions. It's more a matter of how can you find answers to those questions by going inward and just trying to seek that answer from a spiritual direction, like get guidance in another way, like maybe connect to something other than trying to be so much mentally trying to figure everything out. Like there's always help, there's always guidance that we can get, and I think that we all have a divine spark that we can connect to, that we can find those answers and look in that direction when we feel like, okay, this is overwhelming and there's just too much to try to figure out here. Like with this card, like with zombies, like there's just, how are you going to figure that out? So it could be an answer that may be unconventional, something that really wouldn't be something that you would come up with just either journaling about it or just pondering it, but it's just going to have you going in circles. And the death card is not about going in circles. It's about really letting that go and starting something new. It's a new beginning card, right? So, yeah.
Awesome. I love it.
All right.
Now, I see a question here that I think we should both answer because I think it's a good
Okay,
question.
cool.
It's from Persnickety. Do either of you use tarot to communicate with spirit guides or higher self? What about you, Will?
I think so. Every time I do a reading, especially for myself, like in the morning, I always have that in mind. Like, okay, I invite that energy in. But not as much. I haven't used it for like maybe like some sort of direct communication, like for the purpose of communicating. But I just invite that energy in to help get answers. But it's not to like invoke, like, okay, I'm communicating with this spirit right now, and directly asking them questions. But it's more like if I have a question or if I want to know about my day, I just invite that energy to be a part of it. And whatever input I get that. And I don't really know if it's a direct communication. I just feel like, okay, some things I get, maybe that was something that was from some guidance that I got as a part of allowing that to be a part of the reading. But as far as like seeing that or knowing that for sure, I can't say that that is the case. I would say that, it's quite possible, but I don't have any direct experience with like bringing in a spirit or anything like that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Because this was kind of something that I always tried to do when I first discovered. This is why I kind of got into tarot. And I would always try to communicate with my higher self or my spirit guides when I did a tarot reading. And I still do this a little bit, for sure. I mean, that's what when I'm reading for myself, that's what I'm always trying to do is communicate with my higher self. So yes, but I've also found like other ways to communicate with spirit guides or higher self that I kind of prefer because it feels more direct. And so I find that doing like different forms of meditation I found really helpful for this. And I know I've talked to you about this, Will, and I've mentioned this before in other videos. I feel like I'm like always talking about this, but I discovered this meditation process called I think it's called the gateway process or the
Yeah, the
gateway.
hemisync one. Mm-hmm.
What's that?
The hemisync one.
Yeah, from HemiSync. Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoy it. It really works for me. And I've used other guided HemiSync tapes. There's one that I really like on mediumship. So yeah, if anyone, and I don't know if I can put the link. I think I can put the link in the chat. I just love their guided meditation. So I feel like I will do that first if I'm wanting to. I'll just put the link to their site in the chat here. I am an affiliate, but this isn't my affiliate link. I don't know where my affiliate link is.
Oh.
A lot of their stuff is free on Spotify. So if you don't want to pay for a guided meditation, just go on Spotify, look for HemiSync, and I believe there's quite a few free ones that you can just try on Spotify. But anyways, I prefer that as a method of like connecting with spirit guides or my higher self. And tarot is great for that too, but I feel like tarot isn't quite as direct as meditation.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, so if I was to answer that question, talking about meditation and just connecting with my inner, like divine spark, I would say that that's a way that I feel like I get most of the information from my higher self. So I feel like that is really just connecting with myself,
Yeah.
in a different way, but my true self and what we truly are, because of course everything that we think we are in this world, we're really characters. I mean, we are who we are here, but it's not everything. And so there's a part of us that we can connect to that really, it's just waiting for us to connect with it. And, when you do that, you'll know, but it's hard to kind of communicate what that really is and what that's really like. And it's different.
Yeah.
I think it's different for everyone. I think some people experience it in different ways, but I think that's an important question that we all have to answer for ourselves and experience for ourselves, because like I said, when you take that inward journey and you find what works for you on how to connect with that, it's hard to communicate that. I think it's hard to really describe that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it your turn to pick a question, Will?
I think so. Let's see. This is an interesting one. Lollipop Tree says, "Hello, how can I stop myself from ghosting people?"
Oh, wow. Okay. What timestamp is it?
It's 118.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. All right. So I'm not sure like in what sense of ghosting people, like just not like showing up, or like actually relationships where you start something and then just don't communicate with them, or just ghosting in general in all kinds of scenarios. So let's see. All right, so I got the moon. So I feel like the moon is about mystery. It's about false light, not being transparent, illusion, and all of that. And I feel like this person is like enveloped with all these moons. Right. So I would say you have to release yourself from that type of energy. And the best way to, I think, to do that is to do some sort of meditation where you confront that and sort of banish that and get that out of your aura, get that out of your energy field. There is sometimes cases where you do have to ghost someone if they're doing something abusive or wrong. But I find that in most situations, it's not necessary, and it can actually be harmful for the other person. And so I think the moon is also a very reflective type of energy because it reflects sunlight. And I think we have to reflect on how we would feel if that happens, because when you ghost someone, you don't really know what that person might be going through at the time. And it can trigger events in their life as well, because they may have feelings of inadequacy, or maybe they don't feel very self-confident. And then by you doing that, it's kind of putting them in a situation where they feel worse. And so I think the good thing to do is just to think about, how would I feel if there was someone that was waiting for me to call or waiting for me to show up, and I just didn't. It makes them feel really bad. And I get it. It's on that person to kind of not know that they are worth it, that they shouldn't take it personally, that they should know that they are someone special and important, and to move on. But that doesn't always happen. And I think we do have to think about other people and where they're at in their lives, because not everybody's like us. Like for me, I might think, okay, well, I'd be fine if someone ghosted me. I don't care. But not everybody's like that. Some people may take it differently, and they may feel really bad about that. So I think some reflection on, like, what would that really feel like? Sit with that energy and like think, how would I feel? How would I feel that if that was done? And I don't mean that in a critical way, like saying that you're a bad person or anything for ghosting people. I just think that there's a little bit more reflection that can be done, and it can be a thing that may take time. Like when we look at the card, this person has so many moons on them. They're all over them. So taking those things one step at a time, piece by piece, try with one situation. So let's say you're talking to someone and you're like, okay, I'll call you back. I'll call you back tomorrow at, 1. And then just between that time and, between until that time comes, just think about, okay, this time I'm just going to call the person back. Maybe there may be some other times where you fail and you don't succeed and you ghost the person. But I think that, you have to make some sort of effort to not. I mean, that's just my opinion on it, because I think people can be hurt by that. I don't know, personally.
I think also, well, the moon makes me think of like subconscious fears. So fears that you have that you aren't totally aware of. And sometimes that, like, those subconscious things can make us, that those can be the real drivers of our actions. And that's when you find yourself doing things that are almost kind of self-sabotaging. You're like, why am I doing this? And it's because there's something subconsciously that you're not totally aware of that's kind of behind the scenes, kind of pulling some of the strings. And someone in the chat mentioned Rachel said, I recommend learning about your attachment style. It's helped me a lot and with some of my own issues. And I think that's good
Mm,
advice too, looking at attachment
that's a
style.
really good point. Yeah, I didn't think about that because yeah, there's something there that's mysterious, that's unseen, some shadow. Because moon is also about shadow work. So there's
Yeah.
something shadow there that is causing this, and so in addition to working on that, you're right, finding out the root of it. My goodness,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you
Mhm.
said, like, you talked about reflecting and being more self reflective. And I
Mhm.
think that's important. And yeah, and asking yourself, like, what am I afraid of here? Like
Mhm.
what might be going on under the surface? What am I afraid of? Because I think and bringing that like sense of understanding, I think is so important too.
Yeah. And I want to add, don't I would say on another note, on the flip side of that, don't beat yourself up over it. Um, I think that yeah, it's not a great thing, but that's not going to help you get to the shadow work side if you're just if you're not going to be willing to look at the shadow because you know it's making you feel bad. That's not going to help either. So to explore the shadow, be there, be present, but you're kind of an observer when you do your meditations. So you're looking at those behaviors, you're looking at the root of it, but you're not really identifying with it. And so you're able to analyze it a little bit better, if that makes sense. Because if you start really identifying with it and feeling bad, then you're just going to feel like a bad person. You're going to be look at the shadow all day and feel like, oh, I suck. You know, why do I have this part of me? But really just knowing, just observing, oh, this is what I don't know your name, Lollipop Trees, but this is what Lollipop Trees is doing. You know, this is her behavior, and you know, and just really analyzing that and seeing what it is, reflecting on that, writing about it, and seeing where that's coming from without that huge emotional response to it. I think that'll help you as well.
Okay, so I got the 7 of Pentacles, which is this guy dressed up in kind of John Travolta disco gear. Looks like he's at a Halloween costume party. This is from the Trick or Treat Tarot.
Mm,
Okay, so how can I stop myself from ghosting people? And Seven of Pentacles is all about being patient. So I think this card with the moon card, the moon is saying, there's some kind of excavation work that needs to be done. Some self-reflection, some exploring maybe of the shadow side of some subconscious fears perhaps. But and Will, you already said this when you were talking about the moon. But the 7 of Pentacles is saying, do this gradually, be patient with yourself. This is going to be an ongoing process. This isn't something that you can just fix or change overnight. This is an ongoing process. So definitely 7 of Pentacles makes me think of, being patient, but I want to look at like the actual symbolism on this card and it's just so bizarre. Looks like he's
yeah.
got a microphone, like he's singing karaoke. He's dressed up and it makes me think, he's dressed up in a costume. He's trying to be something that he's not.
Mm,
And so I wonder if that resonates, if that makes any sense for you. Um, because sometimes I think if we represent ourselves as being someone we're not necessarily in a dishonest way. Like I think sometimes people do this when they want to be a certain way. So they will try to present that part of themselves, even though it doesn't feel natural. And then if you do that with someone, every time you interact with that person, it's going to feel like a burden because you have to keep up this appearance of being, if let's say you want to come across as being a spiritual person who's non-judgmental and loving, and so that's the version of yourself you try to bring to the table whenever you interact with this person, and then eventually that just starts to get tiring and you feel like this person doesn't know the real me, and you just maybe
mm,
can't face continuing this to hold up this relationship and you don't know how to end it, and so you just kind of ghost them. I don't know if that's what's going on for you or not, but I just was really drawn to the outlandish costume that this guy is wearing and how he's sort of
yeah.
trying to pass as someone that he isn't.
Is it like
Um,
Elvis or what?
yeah, okay, maybe I said John Travolta, but yeah, it is more of an Elvis look than John Travolta.
Interesting. You know, I saw it was like a movie, like a series on Elvis on HBO not too long
Mhm.
ago. And I was watching that. There were so many things about him that I didn't know. And I
Oh
felt
yeah,
a much stronger connection to him based on knowing his background and his personality a little bit more versus just seeing him up on the stage.
yeah,
And I think, yeah, definitely if you're not afraid, shouldn't be afraid to show who you really are and to open up and just have that person accept those parts of you, because maybe there's a fear of like this person really finding out who you really are, like you said. And but those might be the things that are the most beautiful and the things that show your compassion and understanding and make you feel like a real person. And
mhm.
so yeah, when I watched that I thought, yeah, there was a lot about this person that, yeah, that was interesting that I totally would have never known. Mhm.
I haven't seen
I mean,
what
of
movie
course,
is that?
gosh, I forgot the name of it. It's
Is
on
that
HBO though.
the recent one that just came out?
It was a recent one. I think I saw it this summer.
Okay, I think I know the one you're
Um,
talking about. I haven't seen it yet.
yeah, it like starts out from like when he was little and goes all the way through when he was with the carnival and all of that stuff. Everything. Yeah.
Persnickety says, "Isn't that costume Evil Knievel?" Oh,
Yeah, I
maybe.
saw the guitar. I saw the guitar in the background. So I was
There's a
Evil.
guitar though. Yeah, Evil Knievel. I don't know.
Huh.
I'll have to look in the guidebook. I bet it says in the guidebook. um, okay, so I think, Will, that we should wrap up here.
All right. Cool.
Okay, so yeah, so I just want to say thank you to everyone for being here and hanging out with us, and thank you to everyone for letting us read for you and for asking your questions. It's been a lot of fun. And Will, I've had a lot of fun reading alongside you. This is definitely more fun than reading all by myself.
Yeah, I know. I don't think I would want to read by myself. I like this better. So much better.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to do this again soon. Maybe like around Christmas time. I don't know.
Ah,
We'll
that'd be
plan
good.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
All
awesome.
right.
Okay.
So, Will, where can people find you if they want to learn more about you?
Yeah, go to my YouTube channel, Tarot. And then also, if you want a reading, you can look at atypicaltarot.squarespace.com and you can book a reading through there, or Instagram, Atypical Tarot.
Oh, cool. So you have a website now, Will?
Yep, I do. And
Oh,
actually,
good.
there were a couple of people from when we did readings last time that got readings from me through my website after I mentioned it. Hmm.
Cool, cool. Nice.
Yep.
Okay. I don't think I knew that you had a website yet, so that's good.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think
Yep.
you had it last time we chatted. I can't remember.
Yeah, we did. I think we talked about it before. We talked about it
Oh,
before we started the
okay. I just don't have a very good
Are
memory.
you not listening to me, Kate? No, I was kidding. No, yeah. Yeah, I know. I think we talked about it because I remember, because those people, they remember from the video. Yeah.
Right, right.
Um
So
cool.
you can find more about me at my website, dailytarotgirl.com. I've got lots of fun tarot learning resources for you to check out. I've got lots of tarot spreads, exercises, video tutorials, lots of fun stuff. And a lot of stuff can also be found on my YouTube channel as well. So if you haven't subscribed, please give me a subscribe, give me a like, subscribe to Will's channel as well. And we'll be back soon. Hopefully not too long. Maybe in December. We'll figure it out. We'll plan something. So thanks again, everyone, for being here, and have a happy Halloween.
Yep. Thank you.